And finally, in many ways, we've saved the best for last. The last group that we need to talk about are the theropods. For those of you that are looking at the optional textbook, this is chapter 5. And if we look at a translation of the name, it literally means beast foot. So these are the beast foot dinosaurs. And look at this. They go from the late Triassic, right at the start of the dinosaur time period, all the way to the very latest Cretaceous. So these things thrived throughout this time period, unlike all these other ones. And what's also different is that these were mostly predatory carnivores, like this ferocious Utah raptor you're looking at here. Before we talk about them in greater detail, I want to talk about them in terms of the cladogram. Here's an enlargement of the theropod cladogram. So let's go back briefly and look. Here's the cladogram. Saurischian hips with ischium and pubis pointing in opposite directions. And we just have on this diagram theropods as this separate branch of carnivorous dinosaurs. All of these others are herbivorous dinosaurs. If we take the theropods proper and then do a cladogram of those groups, well, you have theropods here, but then notice you have a whole bunch of other separate types over here. And we'll talk about those in the next lecture. But first I want to talk about just the things that define this node. Everything above this has it. Everything below it does not. And this is just some of them. So there's at least 20 specific characters that define this group and show that they're an evolutionarily tight group. So right off the bat, here's this weird bone name. Here's a new one. This is the lacrimal, and this is a bone over the top of the face, the front of the face, and it's broadly exposed and flat here. They all have it, and these others did not. The number of vertebrae that are comprising, the sacrum, or the back of the hip bone here, is at least 5. So you've got 5 fused vertebrae to make the sacrum, distinctive for this group. Claws. The manus, the hand, has prominent claws, which sometimes we will call unguals. And these things, if you've seen them before, they can be quite ferocious looking. Think of about your little kitty's claws, but enormous. And if you've ever been scratched by a cat or something, imagine something 100 times the size tearing into your flesh. A huge adaptation for predation. They also have femurs. Remember the long bone of the leg, but instead of being a straight bone, it has a prominent curve like a bow from a bow and arrow, and it is usually twice as long as the humerus. So these things are always bipedal, and then the curvature, the thought is that this is an adaptation or for a both swift, fast lifestyle, but also with high maneuverability. Turn on a dime, follow, catch prey wherever. If you look at the pes, which is our name for the hind foot, it has reduced the number of toes to just number 2, number 3, number 4, and then this is very much like modern birds. So the other 2 digits, which would have been on the left and right side of this theropod foot over here, they're either gone or they're highly diminished and well up here, not sort of placed on the ground. And this gives you the classic bird foot footprint. Whenever you see sort of dinosaur footprints like theropods, that's it. Modern birds have this as well, and you can see the prominent remainder digit number 1, sort of separate off this way. And then, of course, their skulls. Many characters in here, but they have a diapsid skull, which means sort of two-holer, but lots of other fenestra. Remember, fenestra are windows or holes through the skull. Look at this. There's all these different holes through the skull, so very open. Huge eye sockets The thought is that visual acuity was very important for these predators, and so they've got large eyes, they've got large lobes in the brain case to accommodate that information processing. And then, of course, they have a mouth full of teeth. Large, curved, serrated, so steak knife teeth. And for the dinosaurs, again, relatively large brain cases. Important group. There are lots of other important characters about the tail and the hands and everything. And then also they have hollow bones, which, if you know, is also a characteristic of birds, bird bones. If you've ever broken a bone, a chicken bone or something, you know that they're hollow as well. So again, dinosaurs of this type, the theropods, they're defined by a whole suite of different characters, and most of them relate to their carnivorous lifestyle.